Hey guys, my name is Kev, and today we're going to be talking about my Steam Deck. I finally got it in the mail yesterday. Been playing with it for about 2 days. I got it right at 9 a.m. yesterday, and been playing with it throughout the day, off and on, all day today and yesterday at the time of the recording. And I have to say, I really, really like this device. It feels great in the hands, and it does everything I need that I would expect for it to do. And it's probably the best handheld held device I've ever used. Now, for those of you that don't know what the Steam Deck is, a lot of people are comparing it to the Nintendo Switch. And while I understand it at first glance, and I think if you're going to talk to somebody in layman's terms, I think that's the easiest way to make them understand it. It's a Nintendo Switch, but for PC games. However, it is a full on PC. Don't let the full on what you see in front of you deceive you. There's a lot more going on here than the Nintendo Switch could ever dream of. So, with that said, first things first, let's talk about the specs in this guy. I have the 256 gig model. There are three models here. And basically, the only difference between these three models is how much storage you get on board. So if you get the base model, the base $400 model, you get 64 gigs of just a standard hard drive storage. I have the 256 gigabyte bottle, which has an NVMe SSD inside. It's 256 gigs, and then the big boy, the high end model, has the same SSD with a 512 gigs in it. Other than that, it has the CPU is the equivalent. It is an AMD APU, but it's the equivalent of a Ryzen 7 3700X, more or less. It's slightly slower. And this GPU, I couldn't find a GPU online, and I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments, that was exactly like this one. For my money, I would say it's like a PS4 GPU, but slightly slower. So solid CPU, the GPU will get the job done. It'll still play anything on the market, and that, in my opinion, is incredible in a handheld. Now, the reason I say a handheld because you have to think about cooling. When a lot of people compare things like this, or even the Nintendo Switch, and they compare it to your big home consoles, and they say, oh yeah, like it's lacking in power, it's lethargic. Well, they're essentially the equivalent of a laptop in their space. Laptops are always slower than desktops because you have to worry about cooling and making sure that you have enough space to cool everything in there for the most part. The Switch and the Steam Deck are no different. They're always going to be a couple steps back. But for what this is incredible. Um, and with that said, going off of but for what this is, it is incredible in terms of the spec for a handheld. And it does feel very high end. It feels very high quality. The holding it in your hand feels great. The triggers feel amazing and responsive. They don't. Nothing on here feels cheap. The analog sticks. You hear me going through my Steam library. They are some of the best analog sticks I've ever felt on anything. Even in comparison to my DualSense controller, it feels better than these guys, in my opinion. The D-pad, though, the D-pad leaves a little bit to be desired. Um, well, I feel like it'll do fine in like 2D platformers. I like to use the D-pad in 2D fighting games when I'm playing those, and I don't know that this is going to be the best for that. Now, granted, I do have this again, my DualSense, and I do feel like PlayStation D-pads are some of the best when it comes to fighting games or really anything that uses a D-pad. I really do like the PlayStation D-pad. I like PlayStation controllers in general. I think they're great. But for fighting games, I might just stick with this, and I might not play them on the Steam Deck, but I don't know. So we'll see. And then going into setup 2, the first time that I set this guy up when I first turned it on out the box was awesome. You boot it up. It goes into a mode where you have to log in. That's just log into your Steam account like you normally would. You do your email, password, Steam Guard, all that good stuff. And then it takes you right into the main interface page. Sorry, I don't have a USB to HDMI adapter, so I can't put it on the screen here. So you guys kind of just have to kind of hear me out here. You plug the USB in there, and or yeah, It has you plug in information. It takes you basically to your Steam library page, the equivalent of your Steam homepage for this guy in Steam OS. And then it gives you a little tutorial. Say, hey, here's how you get through it. It takes like 30 seconds. Well, it's really cool. You hit that Steam button and then you go directly to your library. And really, you just start installing games. It gives you a section for Great on Deck. You can go to all your games. You can go have just your installed games, just your favorites, any collections that you set up, non-Steam games. All that good stuff is all right there, and I like that about this Steam Deck. And if you do want to install something that's not there, for example, the Proton GE, which is another compatibility tool you can use to make some of these older games work, just isn't there by default. But you can go into desktop mode. Desktop mode is the equivalent of just a regular desktop for SteamOS. And it's really easy. You use the right trackpad to navigate like your mouse, and then you hold the Steam key, hit the X button on the controller to bring up your keyboard, and then you can just use the D-pad, or you can plug in a mouse and keyboard, especially if you have a USB dock or you use it over Bluetooth. Works great. It was really easy to set up, really easy to get that Proton layer set up. I installed a couple emulators, though I haven't done any emulation on this guy yet. That'll be great once I get there. And as I mentioned, the controls feel great. Everything on this guy feels premium. The case that came with it felt premium. This is the case. It's a nice hard case that comes with all of the Steam Decks. And it's a nice case. It's a really nice, sturdy, durable case. I have no complaints about the case. Heck, when they shipped it, they shipped the Steam Deck inside of the case. It was inside of the case when you open the box. So basically, you open the box, you see this plastic, you see the case on the plastic. When you open the case, there's your Steam Deck, which was actually kind of cool. It's not the most glamorous unboxing experience. Actually, the most glamorous unboxing experience of everything gaming is probably the Xbox Series S. And I hear the X is even better, like in terms of just pure unboxing. Like, oh man, this is fancy. But it's there and it's quality, it's good. And that's generally what I have to say about, when it comes to touching and getting your Steam Deck and everything, that whole experiencing that in the first time and you're getting in that euphoria is all nice. It's all quality. It's you could tell they put some care into this guy and they put some real thought and attention into it. But I think the last and probably most important part of this guy that we should talk about are the games. Of course, I've only played on it really for 2 days, so I've only been able to really play with a handful of games. To test out something older, I tried Batman Arkham Asylum. I did have to download that GE Proton layer and then throw it in compatibility mode. But once I did that, I can max it out and max settings, locked 60 frames per second. Actually, if I wouldn't have capped the frame rate, it went beyond 60. But for this little handheld, that's great. I played a little bit of Guardians of the Galaxy, which was rough for me at first. That's the game I was already playing on my PC anyway. But once I got the right compatibility layer for it, and like I said, don't think of the compatibility layers as something complicated or complex. It's just, I just had to put it in the right mode. And what I found, at least thus far, it's only really been 2 that I've had to use. It's either been the experimental or the GE. You have to download the GE from the app store that's on here. If I get an HDMI cable for this guy, I might even just show you guys how to do it. I just don't have one at the moment. I'm waiting for it from Amazon. So you go into that app store and then you just download it and then you just throw it into the mode. It's actually really easy to do. And there's tons of tutorials on YouTube for you to do it as well too if you have trouble. But like I said, Batman played flawlessly. Guardians of the Galaxy, once I put it in the right compatibility with that GE compatibility, to get the settings right, I put it down to low settings at 720p, throw on FSR, and it ran great. It locked at 40 frames per second basically. I got dips when you got a lot of explosions on the screen down to maybe 35. But it was great for me. When you turn off that frame rate counter, it plays beautifully. You don't even really pay it much attention. Other than that, I tried Ninja Turtle Shredder's Revenge. Played perfectly. Of course it did. Dead Cells plays perfectly on this guy. Halo Infinite, another game that I played with it a little bit. You have to keep Halo on low settings. Otherwise, and it could probably go higher actually than low. I think Halo can. But Halo, it gives you these weird artifacts in the background if you go anything beyond low settings. And I don't know why there's something weird about the Steam Deck, but It plays perfectly on low. So I just throw it on low, and it actually really looks good on the Steam Deck. And I think it has something to do with that screen that's on there, because it's so small, because it's obviously a handheld. That, you know, it being such a small screen, and a high quality screen at that for being a TN panel, it covers up a lot of the shortcomings that you would get at playing games at low settings. Other games I've done, Days Gone, I played a little bit of. I played a little bit of God of War. Again, all excellent experiences. This Steam Deck has made me really feel like every game needs FSR. I don't necessarily feel that way about DLSS. I think DLSS is nice to have. You especially want it on your desk. You could have it on your desktop too, but I really, really, really feel strongly every game needs FSR. FSR, while it's not as good as DLSS, it's open source and for everyone, and everyone gets access to it, and I think that's important. Especially with the way graphics card prices are going. Whew, don't forget that price of the 4080, 4090. That's another rant in and of itself. But yeah, every game needs FSR, on the Steam Deck kind of proved that to me. And what I will say, and this is kind of going to wrap up into my final thoughts, is the Steam Deck for you? It depends. If you are someone that doesn't play on PC, that kind of just wants to get their toes wet with PC gaming, I don't think the Steam Deck is the right device for you. This is a tinkerer's device. You don't have to tinker if you don't want to. You can just use it as your Steam library. You can just use it for your Steam library and basically treat it like a Switch. You'll be fine. Or if you want to go tinker, you could do a lot more. You can install emulators. You can install different software. You can use it like a full-on PC. But with it being your first PC gaming experience, I think this might taint the experience a little bit for you, because you're not getting that raw power that so many people come to PC looking for. If you're someone like me that just likes the freedom and flexibility of PC, and you're more of a tinkerer like I am, and you like all of the other tangents about PC, especially like me, I prefer those things over frame rate and resolution, if I'm being perfectly honest, then this is a great device for you. If you're one of those people that just want ground pound performance, you're the 3090 guy, you're the 4090 guys, you already know you're getting that day one. You don't care how much it costs, and you just like that ultra high end PC gaming experience. You want all the frames, you want the highest resolution, all that stuff. This guy isn't for you. I might wait for the second or third gen Steam Deck, because we're gonna get another one. We're going to get one, maybe two more, and I think that's going to be a lot more powerful than this guy. The reason I bought into this guy was because I wanted an extension to my gaming PC. My wife likes to watch like a different TV shows, and she always wants me on the couch with her, and I want to play my games. So it's like my PC's in the back. While she's watching TV, I can take my Steam Deck out to the couch. I can play my games. Sometimes we'll take family road trips out to the ocean. That's not uncommon. We'll go to the ocean for the weekend, and now I can bring my Steam Deck and I can play it in the car ride, because my wife usually drives there and I drive back, or vice versa. I'm an early riser. I tend to get up at like 6 in the morning. My wife and kids don't tend to get up until a little later. If we're out on these said trips, I'm talking about specifically when we're on these trips, when we're there, I can pull this out and I can play it quietly while we're in our hotel room. These are the kinds of things that I can do with the Steam Deck, and why it's great for me. It's not for everyone. And I don't think this is going to replace most people's gaming PC. But I do think, depending on the kind of games that you want and the kind of gamer you are, and especially if you already prefer handheld gaming, then I think this could be great for you. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about the Steam Deck in the comments below. Of course, if you're new to my channel, I'd love to have you subscribe. I'll talk to you guys next time, and thanks for watching.